Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria, the capital city of British Columbia here in Western Canada. I hope that all of you have had an awesome week and I hope you're looking forward to a great weekend. Students, in this class we are looking at IELTS Task 1 Writing. It will be a pie chart that will look at some girls and boys activities. This is for the academic IELTS. The general IELTS Task 1 is quite different. For that, definitely check out our general IELTS materials and YouTube channel. Welcome Andrew, Fwang, Alexi, Yanni. Nice to see many of our members and nice to see many of our subscribers. Hi Riyadh, Nipa, Padam, Mr. Shibuhi. Nice to have you here with me today. Students, this is a subscribers chat class, so that means to join this chat you need to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is very easy to subscribe to the YouTube channel. My feedback screen is a bit frozen, but hopefully it's not for you. Am I moving for everybody else? So hopefully I am. I'm just going to do a quick refresh there. Oh yeah, okay, there we go. Good. All right. Yes, Alexi says it's clear. Okay, good. All right, students, this lesson, this material, these strategies, they are brought to you by aehelp.com. For academic IELTS, visit us there. For the general IELTS, check us out at gieltshelp.com. The websites have tons of videos, practice materials, interactive courses. We are world leaders when it comes to IELTS exam preparations. This is our academic IELTS website. Here you can click this big red button there to join our premium IELTS package. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access, so you are in great hands with us. Just going to pin the chat here so I can see what's going on at all times. I'm looking at your comments all the time, students. So we will be working together on this task 1. I will be looking for your writing and for your English, and I will give you feedback, okay? All right. General IELTS, gieltshelp.com, green background. Click that big red button to join the premium IELTS package. You see we are an IDP affiliate, a British Council partner in several countries. You can register for your IELTS exam through the websites. So you're in a perfect place. If you're doing general IELTS, this is the website you want to use because task 1 is different. Task 1 for general IELTS is writing a letter or email. Okay. So make sure you know which message you are using. Okay. All right. So, academic IELTS, again, blue background, click that red button. You can use the code over7 and that will get you an extra 10% discount from the price. You can use PayPal, Google Pay. So there you go. You check out and you're on your way to learning good English, good communication, and finding speaking partners, etc., as you saw last class. Okay, students, apps, yes, we have apps. Academic IELTS Help, General IELTS Help. Get the apps from your app stores, link them to your web accounts. Instagram, IELTS_AE-Help, GIELTS Help. Go to IG for vocabulary, some funny and useful reels that we post every now and then. So lots of good content there for you. If you have questions, send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com or admin@aehelp.com. Okay, that's where you can get some answers about the IELTS Tester English as well. Pima, we shall begin here in just a moment. Let's take a look at the schedule. Task 1 right now. Tomorrow, speaking part 2. Speaking part 3. So that's another good reason to subscribe so that you get notifications of these live classes. and new videos like this one here, which we posted in this past week. Check out this speaking video when you've got a moment. Okay. All right. Task 1. Let's do it. Okay. Task 1, writing. So academic IELTS, task 1, always start with task 1 in both the academic and the general. For the academic, it's 20 minutes. For the general, it's 20 minutes, but different kinds of questions. In the academic IELTS, you look at a graph or a chart, table, flow chart, line graph, pie chart, bar graph. Okay, so here we're looking at a pie chart, obviously. Okay. And even before we look at the specific question, does anybody know what the number one mistake is for writing about pie charts in the IELTS exam? I see this mistake all the time. I wonder if anybody knows what that is or if they can guess what that is. Here's a good question. It's a great question to ask you. What is the number one mistake for IELTS candidates when writing about pie charts? Anybody know? Just out of curiosity. Okay. Alexi says, I have no idea. Sunstar says, probably the overview. Okay. All right. Sophia, I'm not sure about when they will do IELTS in Russia again. I'm guessing when the conflict is over there. Schleifer says they don't pay attention to the chats. They may use increasing words, Rahul. Very good, Rahul. Why is that a problem? So students use words like increasing and decreasing when writing about pie charts. That's a good answer. Why is that a problem? Okay, what do you think? Why is that a problem? So why is it problematic to say, as we can see from the pie charts, people eating cheese was increasing from 1990 to 2000. So let me just quickly do a kind of a fun picture here. So let's say you have one pie chart and then you have another pie chart, and this pie chart is 10%. This one is 40% for cheese, and then this is, let's say, 1980, and this is 1990. And then people will say that people eating cheese was increasing from 1980 to 1990. Why is that a problem? Why will you get a low score if you do that? Ubayudaliev says because we are already used to using them to line graphs. Andrew says because pie charts say nothing about increase and decrease, they refer to a specific point of time only. Okay. Yes, absolutely. That's the answer. So pie charts are not the same as line graphs. Okay. So students, if you're doing the academic IELTS, your very, very first step is to learn what each type of graph is used for. Okay. Pie charts are not line graphs and do not show continuity. They only show a specific time period. Okay, so it's like one data point in time, right? So your first step when you prepare for your academic IELTS for task 1 should be to learn what each type of graph is used for. Okay, your first step when you prepare for academic IELTS is to learn what each type, if you don't know it already, of course, what each type of graph is used for. Boom! That's so important. So you can do that, of course, in the premium version of your course on the website for the academic. So here's that website again that you can sign up for using that big red button that's right just above my head there. And then when you have that, you can go into your My Student account. And in your My Student account, you go into your online course, you go to the writing section, you go to your task 1 lessons, and then here you can see that it will show you the different types of graphs and charts that you can see on the IELTS exam. And then it will show you graph applications. So it will say, for instance, bar graphs are used to show comparisons and contrasts between nominal data, in this case countries, on interval scales. And then when you get to line or pie charts, you will learn that pie charts are used to depict, which means to show, the ratio or the proportion or percentage of data from a whole, okay? So a pie chart, you have the whole, the 100%, and basically here it's favorite types of pizza, and you have the different proportions, percentages, or ratios of information, okay? All right, so don't make that number 1 mistake on your IELTS exam and confuse pie charts with line graphs. Too many students do that, where they write about bar charts and pie charts like they're looking at a line graph, okay? NEPA, absolutely, line charts and pie charts are different. They're very different, okay, visually and with the information. Okay, so keeping that important piece of information in mind, let's look at today's task 1 writing. Here we go. So you should spend about 20 minutes on this task. Oh, and again, students, for those of you that missed it, that information is in your premium course at www.ahelp.com. Okay. All right. So spend about 20 minutes on the task. Don't spend more time because task 2 is worth twice as much as task 1. Okay. Read the question carefully. So read with me here. The following charts compare several cultural and leisure activities between boys and girls at some school in England. Describe the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, good. We'll do the introduction here in a minute. We're just going to look at the graph. So graphs, you should always read the same as a book, top down, left to right, okay? That's your direction. So here first we read the titles. Boys, cultural and leisure activities. Girls, cultural and leisure activities. I believe this is a question in one of the IELTS Cambridge books, okay? Shuvyam, we don't write a conclusion, but we write a little summary at the end of our body paragraph. I'll show you that in just a minute, okay? Yeah, you can say counterclockwise, Mal, in a sense. It's better to think about it from top down, left to right. So, or I should say left to right, top to down, okay? All right, Adnan, you are very welcome. Amila, the premium course, one-time payment, lifetime access. We feel that you shouldn't have to pay more than once. You pay once and you can use it as long as you need to. Okay. Move my camera a bit. No, Andrew, I'll move the image, but if I move the camera, it'll get all wonky. So I'll move the image, okay? All right, so now we look at the actual pie charts. Here we don't have any dates. We just have the different categories, okay? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different categories for each, okay? We've got basketball, soccer, reading, computer games, skateboarding, listening to music for boys. Okay, and we've got dancing, gymnastics, reading, computer games, listening to music, and netball. Okay, when I look at the different categories for boys and girls, I should recognize one important fact right away. Okay, what is that? So I've got 6 for each, right? Or is it 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for girls, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, for boys as well. So 6 for each. And I recognize another important fact here very quickly. When I look at this, I notice, so immediately when you're looking at your graphs and charts, you want to look at similarities and differences, because that's what your task 1 will look at. Similarities, differences, okay? So what do I notice here? Padam says common. What do you mean, Padam? Yep, you're on the right track, Padam, but what do you mean by common? So what do we notice? Anahita says the highest and lowest ones. Not really. Anahita, don't get lost on highest and lowest. That's another common problem for IELTS students as they think about highest and lowest. I'll even mention that, Anahita, just because it's a second big problem for students. So careful not to just focus on highest and lowest data. This is too common, and it does not get the best scores always. Okay, so don't just focus on highest and lowest. So many students are like highest, lowest, highest, lowest. Doesn't make your essay stick out, and it's not necessarily the most important information. Okay, so all right, Pima says there's some differences between boys and girls. Yeah, so there's definitely some similar activities and some different activities. Notice how, let me use some different colors here. So I'll bring this up a little bit higher, like that, okay? And then you can see here that boys have listening to music, girls have listening to music, right? Boys have computer games, girls have computer games. Okay, notice how you've got reading for girls and you've got reading for boys, right? And then notice how you've got skateboarding, basketball, and soccer for boys, while you have dancing, gymnastics, and netball for girls. So the blue, of course, you notice is the same, and the pink, you notice, is different. Okay, for any candidate looking to get a band 7, 8, 9 on this task 1, this is definitely one clear concept that you have to catch right at the beginning, right? So everybody sees that. You've got some similar activities and some different activities that are being assessed for the 2. Okay, all right. Now, don't jump ahead. So just recognize this, right? So step number 1 is to write an introduction. Okay, now the introduction is simply paraphrasing the question with more details. Okay, so IELTS Task 1 Academic has 3 parts. Well, kind of 4, but I'll show you that tricky 4th part in a second. It has 3 parts plus 1. Okay, plus 1. So it has an introduction. It has an overview and an analysis. Plus, for those really high band ones, a summary. Not a conclusion, a summary. Okay? All right. The introduction, let's start with that. We'll get to the other parts in a little bit here. Okay? So the introduction is paraphrase the question with more details. Okay? The with more details is very important. A lot of students, all they do is they just paraphrase the question. It's a bad way to start, okay? You're probably going to get a lower band score if you just paraphrase. Okay, so here, let's do that. So let's paraphrase this question here, okay? And then using the information from the chart, we're going to add some details. Let's do this together. So you can do this at the same time that I'm doing it, and then we'll compare. I'll look at the chat and I'll look at what you're writing, and I'll take some examples from different students, okay? Arpit, it's always a person that assesses your speaking and your writing. AI is great, but it's not great enough yet to mark exams, okay? All right, so here we go. The following chart, okay? So these two pie charts, okay? I don't say following chart, or I don't say the charts below. It's really weird to indicate the location of a graph on a piece of paper in your writing. A lot of students do that. It's strange. And in university, your examiners will cross that out with a red, or your professors or markers will cross it out with a red pen. They'll be like, for me, the chart is above. I put it up on the wall. It's not, or it's beside me. Why would you say the chart below? I'm like, oh, what? I only see my socks and my shoes below. I don't see any kind of chart down there. Okay, so don't refer to location of information on paper. That's just weird. Okay. All right, so these two pie charts, they're the two pie charts. Okay, these two pie charts compare and contrast cultural and free time. Instead of leisure activities, free time. Activities. Instead of activities, we can even say hobbies and sports. Okay, because reading, computer games, netball, they're kind of, we're looking really at some hobbies and some sports here, right? So I'm paraphrasing and I'm giving more details. Free time, hobbies, and sports between males and females, right? So boys and girls, males and females, at an education institution, check your spelling, institution in England. Okay. All right. Now, I'm still on my introduction, okay? Because I can give a bit more detail here, and this is where I would add the actual activities. So 3 activities are the same between boys and girls, namely listening to music, computer games, and reading, while 3 activities are different. For boys, basketball, soccer, and skateboarding. And for girls, dancing, gymnastics, and netball. Okay? That's my introduction. Now, my introduction is at a high band score, okay? Because it's not just repeating the question. If you simply paraphrase and repeat the question, you're going for a band 6 or 6.5. If you give more details and you paraphrase, that's when you're going for a band 9, okay? All right. Shaifur Rahman says, these 2 pie charts describe, because it's plural, numerous culture and free time with a hyphen, free time activities between male and female students at some institute in England. Okay, and then more detail, Cypher, to get that higher score. Otherwise, you're just writing a band 5.5 or a band 6. Okay, Mal. Mal says, these charts, these two pie charts, be specific, Mal. Why not let your reader know that you are looking at exactly this information, right? So these two pie charts show the cultural similarities and differences, as well as the interest of those activities between boys and girls in a school in England. Missing information there, Mal. It's a school, right? Not just boys and girls in England. That would be different. That means all boys and girls in England, not a school in England, right? Okay. All right. And then more detail. Philo. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It could be philo. Let me know. First, philo. Second, philo. First or second? Let me know and I'll make a correction there in my pronunciation. Philo. Philo says the following pie charts depict what boys and girls are doing in their free time, like reading, playing computer games, listening to music and sports in some school in England. Philo, I like it. I like the detail. So I like how you're describing the data right away in the introduction. That's good. Okay. All right. Andrew says the two pie charts illustrate 9 societal and pastime pursuits. Social and pastime pursuits. Societal, yeah, okay. 3 of which are, namely, listening to music, computer games, and reading. 3 of which, namely listening to music, computer games, and reading, are similar for both genders, for young men and women at a certain school in the UK. Andrew, that's good. Okay, now that I've read it, it's good. Oh, philo. Second one, I guess. Yes, philo. So not philo, but philo. Okay, got it. So philo. Good. I'll try to etch that into my brain. Okay, so here's my introduction. Again, these two pie charts compare and contrast cultural and free time hobbies and sports between males and females at an education institution in England. 3 activities are the same between boys and girls, namely listening to music, computer games, and reading, while 3 activities are different for boys: basketball, soccer, and skateboarding, and for girls: dancing, gymnastics, and netball. Okay, good. Now I can give the overview. Okay, so overview. Report the most interesting information and give structure to your essay like a thesis. Okay? So identify these 5 to 8 points of discussion before you start writing. Okay? So you have note paper. In the paper-based exam, it's a bit easier because you can actually use your pencil to indicate this in your question booklet. In the computer-based exam, don't scratch your computer screen. So don't be like, oh, there's number 1. But just take notes on the note paper provided, okay? So let me show you what I mean by this, okay? So here, I would definitely start with the similar activities, okay? So let's go back to that blue pen. So we've got the listening to music, we've got the reading, and we've got the computer games, okay? All right, and then we've got the same here. Okay, good. So, these are the similar activities, right? And I'm going to talk about the similar activities first. Now, looking at this a little bit more carefully, I can notice that listening to music is the same, okay? However, we can see that reading and computer games might be out of screen there for you, but that's okay, are not the same, right? So that's my first point. That's what I'm going to talk about, listening to music. And that's my second point, computer games. And then we can kind of group reading in there with it as the second 2B or 3, okay, in with it. So those are my 1, 2, 3, the similarities, okay, listening to music, and then computer games and reading, which kind of contrast each other, that are different, okay? Everybody sees that. In the academic IELTS and in the IELTS in general, they're not just testing your English, they're also testing your thinking. Okay, obviously, that's why there's 2 versions of the IELTS exam. If they were only testing your English, there would just be 1 version of the exam, and they would just ask you some very simple kinds of information. But that's not the case. The IELTS, there are 2 versions. There's academic and there's general. That's because they're not just testing your English, they're also testing your thinking, but they don't tell you that, okay? You just have to understand that from what you're doing, okay? So clearly, we're testing your thinking. So in task 1 and in task 2 as well, you need to do a lot of good thinking before you put pen to paper, okay? All right, so this will be my first group, and then my second group will be the sports, skateboarding, basketball, and soccer. And here, of course, it's dancing, gymnastics, and netball, okay? I'll probably look at the most popular sports. So here I'm looking at basketball, which will be my number 4. I'll compare that to dancing for girls, which will be my number 4 there, okay? And then I will look at the second most popular sport, which in this case looks like it's soccer, so that will be my number 5. The second most popular here will be netball, number 5, and then skateboarding, number 6, and gymnastics, number 6. So those are my points for comparison, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? And in the real IELTS, this is happening quickly. I can do this in my head in 1 minute, especially if I'm practicing at home, okay? Okay, everybody sees that. So does everybody see those 6 points of comparison? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mukesh says yes. Chayani says yes. So from that, we can now generate the overview, and then from that, of course, we have our structure and we can generate the analysis. Fong says yes. Nipa says yes. Toga says yes. I have a feeling Andrew is already frantically writing. Okay, good. So let's dig in. Okay, so let's complete the overview and we'll go from there. Okay. Write the overview, I'll write the overview, and then we'll compare. We'll see if you're kind of on the same page or with the same idea as with me, okay? So, okay, at first glance, it is clear that one leisure activity is enjoyed by an equal number of both men and women, while the other two are clearly different in proportions. Similarly, certain sports are more popular for girls or for boys, as where others are less popular. Okay, that's it. So I've got a nice long introduction here, and so I'm just going to keep my overview quite short and save the rest for the analysis, okay? This is all I'm doing here. At first glance, it is clear that one leisure activity is enjoyed by an equal number of both men and women, while the other two are clearly different in proportion. Or in proportions. Similarly, certain sports are more popular for girls or for boys, as where others are less popular. Okay, so yeah, it's not that difficult as long as you pay attention. And students, there are many different ways to write the same idea, as long as you're writing the same idea. Okay, so now my analysis. Okay, your analysis gives the details of each point. That you identified and its interpretation. What do I mean by interpretation? Well, let me show you. Okay, so the first point that I identified is that 10% of men or boys and 10% of girls like listening to music in their free time or in their leisure time as a cultural activity. Okay. So here, I don't want to just write 10%. Okay, so a band 6 student will write 10%. So a band 6 student will do this. All right, they'll do something like this, like in more detail. Both, so 10% of both girls and boys like listening to music in this school. Okay, so this will be like a band 6. Well, band 7. Let's be a little bit more generous, right? Because all I'm doing here is I'm reporting. I just say in more detail, 10% of both girls and boys like listening to music in this school. So I want to not just report. I don't want to just say 10%. If you have a good essay, it shouldn't just be full of percentages like 10%, 21%, and so on. It should be interpretation. So in more detail, instead of 10%, what can I write? Gavin, very good, 1/10. What would be even better than a 10th? So Anahita says we could write a 10th. And a 10th is better than 10% because it's interpretation. You're saying, yes, a 10th in these groups. And what would be the other way? Yeah, very good, Ubadulaya. Very good. Okay. Dark is asking, how you know they are in the same percentage but not in number? Well, we don't have the number data. Dark comment. We only have the percentages. We don't know how many girls versus how many boys were interviewed. So we know it's a 10th, 1/10 or 10%. It's 1 of every 10. So in more detail, 1 from every 10 girls and boys like listening to music in this school. Yeah, so that would be interpretation. That would be your band 9 level writing, right? So you're not just writing 10%, but you're using more thinking, more English, and you're getting more band scores. That makes sense, right? So the better you can interpret the data, the better band score you're going to get. Does that make sense? Okay, so the better that you can interpret data, and think about it logically, right? Like you're like, why IELTS is so mean? No, it's not. In school and in business, in work, in a company, it's the same. If I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation, I shouldn't just repeat what I'm showing on the slide, but I should interpret the information for the audience, right? Most of us are fairly intelligent, and if we look at the pie chart, we can see that, right? So we don't have to be told what we can already see, right? So the better that you can interpret data, the better your band score. Okay, make sense? Priyansh, don't write overall and at first glance, just write 1. So write at first glance, okay? All right. Obadulayev, yes, you can take a screenshot, but Obadulayev, don't forget that these lessons are recorded, so you can watch this lesson again on the YouTube channel, and then you can take as many screenshots as you like. We also post these essays and these graphs in the YouTube community board, so you can check there as well. Okay, I'll go back to that overview in a bit, all right? Okay, so in more detail, 1 from every 10 girls and boys like listening to music in this school. However, a third of all males like to play. Oh, let me just show you this here. Okay. So right now I'm looking at the second points, right? The second points were computer games and reading. So this and this. And this is the biggest percentage of all for boys. It's 34%. Now 34% is a third, or 1 of every 3, right? For girls, that's only 16%, while we've got reading here at 21%, right? Which is, of course, 1/5, roughly, of the whole, right? So I'm going to report on those. Do the same. So I challenge you to write with me. Don't just copy me, but try to write these on your own. We're looking at point 2, point 2b, or 3, okay? All right? So let's do that. And there are different ways. So you don't have to write exactly what I'm writing. Just follow the logic and the concept. But there are different ways to express that, okay? So I'll show you how I do it, and then you can compare. And I'll take a look at the chat, okay? So, however, a third of all males like to play computer games, as where only 16%, and you can use some percentages, just don't use them all the time, girls enjoy this activity. In contrast, okay, and now I realize that computer games are the most popular for boys, so I can add that in. I can say, however, a third of all males like to play computer games, making it the most popular activity listed among boys. As where, notice how I did this with the comma and another comma. You can use 2 commas for an additive clause. That means to add in information. Now, careful with your grammar because it won't always work. So make sure you have an expert teacher or tutor or someone to check your grammar. By the way, students, on the website, so we've got lots of tools for you, and you've got this tool right here as well, which is the task 1, task 2 writing. So you can send us your essays by clicking on those buttons, and then when you have an essay like this, you can put it into the text box, okay, and then you click submit, you make payment, and then you're good to go. Okay, if you write 150 words, it's basically $9, but even from one submission, you can get a lot of valuable content and feedback. Okay, so to learn, these skills of how to use commas for these additive clauses. Okay. All right, so however, a third of all males like to play computer games, making it the most popular activity listed among boys, as where only 16% of girls enjoy this activity. In contrast, just 2% of boys like to read books, making it the least preferred free time activity. While just over, well, I don't want to use the word just here because I want to show that it's a lot, while over 1/5 or over 1/5 of females enjoy literature. Okay? Literature is reading, writing, but in this case, it paraphrases reading. Okay? All right, so that is my point 1, 2, and 3 all in one. And so I've got all this information in 69 words, which is fantastic. Okay. Anahita says 2% is a tiny minority. It is, Anahita, and that's nice interpretation. A tiny minority. I like it. Okay. Ubaydulayev says, however, there was a significant disparity. Ubaydulayev, you're using past tense. I'm using present tense. Present tense is better. Why? So here's a quick side question. We want to use present tense in this essay and not past tense for the verbs. Why? Can somebody give me a nice quick answer for that question? It's a very common question that we get, like what tense should I be using, right? So here's the pie chart again. Why? Why should you use present and not past? Yeah, Bipana, very good, because time is not mentioned. Bipana, correct spelling, T-I-M-E, right? There's no date, there's no year, so this is just general information. Okay, yeah, Anahita, there's no time. Yeah, so we have to use current status. So that's kind of the rule of thumb. If there's no time mentioned, even though we can assume that this survey has concluded, we still use present tense because we're just simply reporting in the present context, in the general time. Okay, so pay attention to that, Ubaydulayev. Okay. You probably saw me correct that. I did that earlier. Maybe some of you caught it where I was writing and I used the past tense and I went back and changed it to present tense, right? If you have the time and you're writing about that specific time, then you use past tense if it's in the past. If you're talking about the chart now, then you're using present tense, okay? Okay. All right. So far so good. Now I want to report on the next set of data. The next set of data are the sports. So we've got basketball at 26%, and comparatively, we've got dancing at 27%. These are the two most popular sports or physical activities, we can say, that girls and boys do at this school. Okay, so I'm going to use a nice joining word here, in addition or furthermore. Okay, still the same paragraph. It's all one comparison between boys and girls at this school. So on the same kind of activities, right? So furthermore, the most popular physical activity for boys is basketball, while for girls it is dancing. Both at what? So how many? So here dancing is 27%, basketball is 26%. So what can we say about that data? What is dance? What is basketball? What is dancing? Okay. Aliaskar, that looks good. Okay. All right. What can we say about that? Very good, Yanni. It's a fourth, roughly a quarter, right? Quarter. Half a quarter, right? A quarter of NEPA. Very good. Just over a quarter, right? 26, 27, they're both just over a quarter. So Gurkharad, I wouldn't even do 26, 27% respectively. I would do just over a quarter. The more interpretation, the better, right? So furthermore, the most popular physical activity for boys is basketball, while for girls it is dancing, making it the most popular activity surveyed. Both at, because for girls, you'll notice that that 27 is actually the highest percentage. Both at just over a quarter. of the population. If I don't want to write population here, what could be another way? So this whole group here, we could call that a group. We could call it a population. Or if you know a lot about graphs and charts and statistics, what do they call this? And this is how you can really get those band 9 scores. When you survey a group of people or a population, what do you call that in statistics? It's not those polled. It starts with an S. In statistics, and if you're in the university or if you've done university, then some of you should have learned this in your statistics or analytics lessons. That's right, Nishan. So clever. Today, Nishan, you are getting double thumbs up with all of those clever answers. It's your sample size. Okay, it's called a sample size. So the group that you are able to conduct your survey with is referred to in statistics as your sample size. Okay, so here, if you want to show your examiners that, hey, I am ready for university, I've done my research, then you can say a quarter of the sample. So population is good, and you can paraphrase it as sample. Okay. Dark says, my teacher told me that I must write only 2 sentences in my overview. Dark, there's no law or rule that says write only 2 sentences in your overview. It shouldn't be too long, but it could be 1 sentence. That's a compound or complex sentence. It might be 3 short sentences. There's no rule that says write 2 sentences, okay? It's usually between 1 and 3, all right? Okay, it depends on the information. Ali, I'm doing splendid as well. Okay. All right, let's keep moving. So here we go, students. So we're on to the second most popular sport, which is for boys, soccer. For girls, it's netball. Okay, so very simply, we don't have to, this is where I might save a bit of time and be a little bit more to the point. So the second most popular, now if I don't want to write sports, I can write another word here. I'll get you to think of what that is. For boys is soccer, while for girls it is, what is it, netball? My brain. Yeah, netball. Okay. Netball at 17% and 15% respectively. Okay, and many of you know that the word respectively means that in that order, right? So for boys, it's soccer 17. For girls, it's netball 15. That's what the respectively tells me. Black Panther says activity, not the one I was thinking of here. Yeah, Anahita says athleticism. Athletics, yes, that's the word I was thinking of. We've used activity so much, right? So we want to use different words if we can. Athletics. Okay, so the second most popular athletics for boys is soccer, while for girls it is netball at 17% and 15% respectively. IT manager athletics, very good. Okay, great, nicely done. All right. In third position for physical activities is skateboarding for males, and what was it for girls? It was gymnastics. And gymnastics for girls, both at 11%. Okay, good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All points covered, right? Yeah, everybody's with me. Akushoa, here's the chart one more time. I keep bringing it up. Abos, this is not my overview. This is my analysis. So this is not my overview. This is my analysis. So just so you're not confused, 3 parts, okay? This is the introduction. If you're thinking that's my overview, introduction. Okay, so this is my introduction here. Girls, guys, when you're studying for the IELTS, please use your logic and critical thinking. Don't listen to silly and weird teaching and advice like, your analysis must be 5 sentences. If you go over 150 words, you will lose marks. No, it's not true. There's a lot of really weird and bad information about the IELTS on the internet. You have to make sure you're getting information from correct sources, okay? I am a British Council agent. I have taken the IELTS. I have trained people for the IELTS. I have worked with examiners for 20 years. And I studied psychology in university about how we learn and produce information. So I have a pretty good idea of what we need to do to prove our communication in a language, whether it be English or otherwise. Think logically, students. Don't even believe what I say. Criticize it. I urge you to, I invite you to criticize my logic. That's how we learn. So what you need to do is follow logic, okay? That's the introduction. This is the overview here. Okay. And this is the analysis here. All right. So we're working on the main part there. All right. Okay. Task 1 is called an expository essay. Okay, that's one of the 4 main essay types, and it's written in the 3rd person voice of the author. These are standards of literature. And again, students, you can learn all of this in your course at aehelp.com for academic IELTS. Okay, so that's where you need to go for academic IELTS. Click that big red button to get the right materials. And if you have questions, ask us. For general IELTS, it's gieltshelp.com, okay? All right. So am I done? This will be a Band 9 essay so far, for sure. Am I done? I'm not quite done yet, right? There's one more piece that I can add here. What can I add? Okay, Mal says, not yet. Yanni says, maybe a little summary. Okay, good. Yeah, a little summary. Andrew says, don't forget that summary. Okay. Abos, I'm writing it all in one paragraph because it's really one paragraph. All we're doing here is we're comparing the activities of boys and girls. There's one focus of information here. Leisure and cultural activities of boys and girls. That all fits into one analysis, that concept, okay? And even the summary, don't write it as a separate paragraph. Just include it at the end, okay? So to boost your score, include a simple summary that captures the main comparison or contrast which we can learn after analysis or analyses. And keep this very simple in the IELTS, okay? 1 sentence. Okay, so, and use in summary, don't use in conclusion. Students, when you learn proper writing, you learn that a summary and a conclusion are not the same. Okay, so writing in conclusion does not mean in summary. Okay, those are 2 different words. They're close, but they're not the same. Conclusion is an opinion. It's a post-thought. It's a piece of advice. It's a take-home message. A summary simply takes a clear piece of information that we can create in a concise way from the given data or from the given information, okay? So we use summaries in expository essays. We use conclusions in persuasive essays. That makes sense, hopefully, right? So here I'm going to write in summary after detailed analysis, or analyses for plural, okay? What can we learn? so what can we see here? Okay, in these two pie charts, after I've looked at all of this information, so I've looked at listening to music, skateboarding, basketball, soccer, dancing, gymnastics, reading, netball, computer games, what do I learn? What do I learn? Bipana, I wouldn't do 2 paragraphs here. There's not enough complexity here for 2 paragraphs. I would just keep it as 1. Okay, so what can we summarize? There should be a thought here that kind of jumps out after we do a deep dive or we do an analysis here. Bipana, it's not a conclusion. We're not concluding. We're just doing a quick, simple 1-sentence summary. Okay? Mahesh, we're doing just 1 paragraph. Again, students, just 1 paragraph because we're just comparing the cultural and leisure activities of boys and girls at this school. We're not doing anything else. There's no second table or an added line graph. If I had a line graph down here that was showing me some other data, then I might do 2 paragraphs, 2 body paragraphs, but not for this. For this, I would just do 1. Okay, so Andrew says we could conclude that sports dominate here because they add up to over 50%. So if we add up soccer and skateboarding, and we add up dancing, gymnastics, and netball, then it equals over 50%. That could work. Andrew, that could be a good summary. Okay. Yeah, so Harsh says some activities are the same, but others are different and in different proportions. That's probably what I would do based on this. Okay, but Andrew, you could go with the sports are over half. So it's more than 50%, Andrew. I would say more than half. So we could say there's 2 summaries that you could do here. In summary, after detailed analysis, it is clear that more than half of both and girls enjoy doing physical activities at this school. Okay, so we could do that, or we could do another one. We could do in summary, after detailed analysis, it is clear that some activities are shared between boys and girls, while others are different and in different proportions. Okay, because we can see that reading and computer games are quite different, right? So, and in different proportions. An education institution in England. Okay. 3 activities are the same between boys and girls, namely listening to music, computer games, and reading, while 3 activities are different for boys, basketball, soccer, and skateboarding, and for girls, dancing, gymnastics, and netball. At first glance, it is clear that one leisure activity is enjoyed by an equal number of both men and women, while the other 2 are clearly different in proportions. Similarly, certain sports are more popular for girls and for boys, as where others are less popular. In more detail, 1 from every 10 girls and boys like listening to music in this school. However, a third of all males like to play computer games, making it the most popular activity listed among boys, as where only 16% of girls enjoy this activity. In contrast, just 2% of boys like to read books, making it the least preferred free time activity, while over a fifth of females enjoy literature. Furthermore, the most popular physical activity for boys is basketball, while for girls it is dancing, making it the most popular activity surveyed, both at just over a quarter of the sample. The second most popular athletics for boys is soccer, while for girls it is netball at 17 and 15% respectively. In third position for physical activities is skateboarding for males and gymnastics for girls, both at 11%. In summary, after detailed analysis, it is clear that some activities are shared between boys and girls, while others are different. I would maybe make this a bit clearer. It is clear that some activities are shared. It is clear that preference for some activities are shared between boys and girls, while others are different and in different proportions. Okay, now word count. A couple of you are asking me about word count. So the word count here is 272. Woo, that's a lot, right? It's 100 more than the minimum. Is that bad? No. 150 words is the absolute minimum. Okay, so students, in the question, I think I got moved down here, but in the question it says write at least 150 words. That means minimum. Yeah. Kumboj, you should use the % sign or symbol, not the word, to save time. Okay. Now, 270, maybe a bit much, so maybe I could shorten the overview a little bit, maybe take out some information. But you should keep in mind, students, that Band 9 essays, Band 8, Band 9 essays, and we know this from doing the IELTS, from dealing with IELTS, from talking to examiners, Band 8, Band 9 essays are usually over 200 words. So maybe 220. Like 220, okay-ish, all right? Okay, students, that's pie charts in a nutshell. But again, you need to, for academic IELTS, you need to learn about bar charts, you need to learn about line graphs, you need to learn about pie charts, you need to learn about tables, you need to learn about flow charts, you need to learn about diagrams. Okay, you can do all of that in your premium IELTS package at aehelp.com by clicking that big red button there. That's just right above my head. I'll put the URL into the chat so you can see it there as well. It's www.aehelp.com. One-time payment, lifetime access. We're an IDP affiliate, British Council partner, IELTS Test Registration Center, and potentially the most popular online IELTS training anywhere. Kid Orange, we did bar charts last time. If you look at the YouTube channel for live classes, you go back about 2 weeks, you'll find that bar chart example. Okay, Eugen, you're very welcome. Yanni, you're welcome. Okay, all right. Students, that is it for today, but I'm back tomorrow and I will post this essay for you in our YouTube community board, so at least subscribe to the channel to help yourselves, okay? Tomorrow I'm back with speaking part 2 for members, speaking part 3 for everyone. We'll practice our speaking using the chat interface on the website, and definitely check out aehelp.com and gieltshelp.com. You are very welcome, Mal. Thank you for your attention. Philo, thank you for being a new member today. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Alexi, thank you for your super chat donation. You are fantastic. Love you all. Back here tomorrow with speaking. Until then, have a great start to your weekend. You're all beautiful, amazing people. Don't ever let anybody else tell you otherwise. Just keep pushing forward, chin up, and fight the good fight. I'm Adrian. I'm signing out from Victoria. Bye for now, everybody.